I remember walking down the tunnel. People were chanting. My legs were shaking, my hands were shaking. I was so weak. But when the gun went, all that just kind of went away and it was like, let's go. I remember coming out the corner, I felt like I just got a push and I went in front. I was just running for my dear life. The crowd was going crazy, everybody was jumping.
And Bolt has smashed his own world record.
I don't know why I did it, but I just walked over and I saluted the crowd. When I did that, I didn't know they could get any louder, but they got louder. And it was in front of my people. That's where it all started, when I took my first step into becoming who I am today.
Every generation witnesses greatness, but only once in a lifetime does someone arrive who doesn't just raise the bar, they completely redefine it. From a small village in rural Jamaica came a boy who loved cricket, who ran barefoot in the rain, who had no idea that his greatest gift was still waiting to be discovered. That boy would grow into the fastest human the world has ever seen. Usain Bolt didn't just win races, he transformed them into moments of global disbelief and joy. He made sprinting look effortless, almost playful, even as he shattered records that experts once believed were unbreakable. With every stride, he pushed the limits of what we thought humans were capable of. With every celebration, he invited the world to share in the magic. This is the story of Usain Bolt, the lightning bolt from Jamaica, the showman, the record breaker, and the man whose speed turned him into a legend. From humble beginnings to Olympic immortality and world records that still stand untouched, this is the journey of the greatest sprinter of all time. Usain Bolt's story begins far from stadium lights and cheering crowds, in the quiet rural community of Sherwood Content, Jamaica. Born in 1986 to hard-working parents who made a living through farming, Bolt grew up surrounded by simplicity. Life there was modest. Days were spent outdoors, running through fields, climbing trees, and playing with friends in the village streets. From the start, Bolt was different. He was tall, unusually tall for his age, and he carried an energy that seemed impossible to contain. But the irony is that sprinting wasn't his first love. Cricket was. He idolized cricket legends, dreamed of bowling fast, and spent hours in the road using sticks and makeshift balls to imitate his heroes. Even so, his natural speed was impossible to ignore. Teachers, neighbors, and coaches all noticed the same thing. This boy could run. Effortlessly, powerfully, instinctively, he glided rather than sprinted, covering ground in long, loping strides that looked almost unfair next to other children. Despite their limited means, Bolt's parents emphasized discipline and education. They didn't push him toward sports. They pushed him to become responsible, focused, and grounded. But every race he ran, every competition he entered, hinted at something extraordinary. By the time Bolt reached primary school, his speed was no longer a secret. At school's sports days, he dominated races without training, without preparation, almost without trying. Coaches began encouraging him to take track more seriously, sensing untapped potential. Bolt resisted at first. His heart was still in cricket, but the adults around him saw a future he couldn't yet see for himself. Eventually, he agreed to try sprinting, not out of burning ambition, but because he trusted the people guiding him. That small decision would become the first step on a path that would change his life, and eventually change the history of athletics. By the early 2000s, Usain Bolt's talent had grown far too big for local competitions. Coaches and athletic officials in Jamaica knew he needed to be tested against the world. So, in 2001, at just 14 years old, Bolt boarded a plane for his first international meet in Hungary. For most teenagers, the idea of representing their country would be overwhelming. Bolt treated it with the same carefree attitude he carried everywhere. He joked with teammates, stayed relaxed, and seemed strangely unbothered by the magnitude of the moment. But once the race began, the world saw who he truly was. His running form was raw, almost unpolished, but something about it stood out. He ran upright, his stride long, his knees driving high, unnatural for someone so tall, yet oddly efficient. He won his first heat, surprising many who expected the young Jamaican to simply gain experience, not dominate. Although he was eventually eliminated later in the competition, it didn't matter. What mattered was what everyone had seen. That this teenager, with barely any structured training, possessed rare, undeniable potential. The seed of greatness had been planted. But the moment that truly changed everything came a year later. In 2002, Jamaica hosted the World Junior Championships in Kingston, a massive event on Bolt's home turf. Bolt was just 15 years old, competing against athletes 3 and 4 years older than him. The pressure was immense. Tens of thousands of fans packed the stadium, all expecting something extraordinary from the tall teenager representing their island. Bolt felt the weight of those expectations. He was nervous, overwhelmed, even frightened. He struggled to get ready before the race, fumbling with his spikes and fighting back panic. Yet, when the starter's gun cracked through the air, everything changed. Instinct took over. In the 200 meters, Bolt surged through the curve with a burst of energy he didn't even know he had. He powered past older, stronger competitors and crossed the finish line first, becoming the youngest world junior champion in history. The stadium erupted. Jamaica had found its next great star, and the world had just seen the beginning of something extraordinary. Bolt later called that victory the moment he became the lightning bolt, the moment he realized he belonged on the global stage. But this was only the start. The boy who once dreamed of cricket had now found a new purpose, and the world had found its next phenomenon. Following his breakthrough in Kingston, Bolt's rise through the world of track and field accelerated with incredible speed. By 2003, at just 16 years old, he was no longer just a promising young sprinter. He was becoming a global curiosity. People wanted to know who this tall, lanky teenager from Jamaica was, and how someone so young could run with such power and confidence. That year, Bolt dominated the World Youth Championships and continued to lower his times in the 200 meters. His stride was still raw, his body still growing, his technique still forming. Yet he ran faster than athletes years older and far more experienced. At the World Junior Championships, he set a new meet record of 20.40 seconds, a time many senior athletes struggled to reach. Then in 2004, came a moment that stunned the sprinting world. At just 17 years old, Bolt became the first teenager in history to run the 200 meters in under 20 seconds. He clocked an astonishing 19.93, proof that he wasn't simply talented, he was extraordinary. But with greatness came challenges. Bolt was still maturing physically, and his towering frame made him prone to injury. His hamstrings especially struggled to keep up with the demands of elite sprinting. There were periods of frustration, moments when he couldn't train at full intensity, moments when the pain slowed him down. On top of that, his natural laid-back personality didn't always align with the discipline required at the highest level. Training was difficult. Consistency was difficult. Following strict routines felt unnatural to him. Yet, despite all this, the world continued to take notice. The Jamaican media hailed him as a prodigy. International coaches whispered that he might become one of the greats, and fans, especially young Jamaicans, saw in him a new symbol of possibility. Bolt's talent was undeniable, but it needed structure, refinement, and guidance. And soon he was about to face his first true test, stepping onto the biggest stage in sports, the Olympic Games. However, what awaited him there would remind him, and everyone watching, that talent alone wasn't enough, and that the path to greatness was always longer and more demanding than it seemed. By the time Usain Bolt reached the 2004 Olympics in Athens, the world expected fireworks. But instead of a breakout moment, he struggled. Injuries, inexperience, and inconsistent training caught up to him. He was eliminated early, far from the medal rounds, and left the games disappointed. For many young athletes, a failure like that, on the biggest stage in the world, can leave a lasting scar. But for Bolt, it became a turning point. After Athens, he was introduced to the man who would change everything, Coach Glen Mills. A disciplined, detail-driven mastermind, Mills had trained multiple world-class athletes, and he saw something in Bolt, a rare combination of raw speed, untapped potential, and a personality suited for greatness. But he also saw the problems: the inconsistent work ethic, the lack of technical refinement, the fragile hamstrings, and the playful attitude that often overshadowed his responsibilities as a professional athlete. Mills made it clear, if Bolt wanted to compete with the best in the world, he needed more than talent. He needed discipline. Under Mills, Bolt's training transformed. Days became longer. Drills became more intense. Technique was broken down and rebuilt. The focus shifted from natural ability to mastery. Strength work, mechanics, explosiveness, recovery. For the first time in his life, Bolt was being pushed to his limits. And it wasn't easy. There were mornings when he didn't want to wake up. Days when the workouts felt impossible. Moments when he questioned whether he could endure the pressure and sacrifice required. But a fire had been lit. The disappointment of Athens lingered in his mind. He wanted to prove that he was more more than a teenage prodigy. He wanted to show the world and himself that he could be the best. Slowly, the transformation took hold. Bolt's body grew stronger. His speed became more controlled, more explosive. His stride lengthened with purpose. His confidence grew, not the casual swagger of youth, but the confidence of a man who knew he was working for something bigger. By 2007, Bolt had his first major breakthrough on the senior stage, earning a silver medal at the World Championships. He was no longer just the tall kid with potential. He was becoming a force. And as he and Coach Mills looked ahead to the next Olympic Games in 2008, they shared a single goal: to arrive in Beijing not just as competitors, but as champions. What neither of them knew was that Bolt wasn't just preparing for victory. He was preparing to redefine the sport forever. The birth of a global icon. By 2008, the pieces had finally come together. Years of discipline, rebuilding, and maturity had transformed Usain Bolt from a raw talent into a finely tuned competitor. But even then, the world had no idea what was coming. Originally, Bolt's main event was the 200 meters. That was where he felt comfortable, where he had history, where he saw his future. But Coach Glen Mills saw something different. He believed Bolt could dominate the 100 meters too, a race Bolt rarely ran seriously. At first, Bolt resisted. The 100 meters was a specialist's event. Every millisecond mattered. Bolt thought the race was too short to recover from his traditionally slow starts. But one race changed everything. In early 2008, Bolt ran only his second professional 100-meter race. He clocked 9.76 seconds, the second fastest time in history. It stunned the track world. People questioned the clock, the conditions, even the possibility of human error. But there was no mistake. 2 weeks later, Bolt proved it wasn't a fluke. He broke the world record with 9.72 in just his fifth 100-meter race as a professional. Now, the whispers turned into headlines. The world realized lightning wasn't just striking, it was gathering force. By the time Bolt arrived at the Beijing Olympics, all eyes were on him, yet he remained relaxed, smiling, dancing, carrying himself with a calmness that seemed impossible for someone on the brink of history. Then the moment came, the 100-meter final. The gun fired. Bolt exploded from the blocks with one of the best starts of his life. Within seconds, he was pulling away. At 80 meters, he looked around, saw no one near him, and did something unheard of. He opened his arms, pounded his chest, and celebrated before the race was even over. He crossed the line in 9.69 seconds, a new world record, and he did it slowing down, smiling, enjoying the moment. The world had never seen anything like it. But he wasn't finished. In the 200 meters, Bolt entered as the favorite, but no one expected what came next. He obliterated Michael Johnson's legendary world record, running 19.30. A time once thought untouchable. His long strides devoured the curve, and down the straight he looked unstoppable, as if he was built to run fast in ways others simply weren't. And still, he wasn't done. In the 4x100-meter relay, Jamaica dominated again. Bolt's anchor leg sealed a third gold medal and another world record. 3 races, 3 golds, 3 world records. Almost overnight, Bolt went from rising star to global phenomenon. People who had never watched track and field before were suddenly glued to their screens. Children around the world mimicked his now iconic lightning bolt pose. Fans mobbed him in the Olympic Village. He couldn't walk anywhere without crowds erupting. Usain Bolt wasn't just fast. He was fun. He was charismatic. He brought joy to a sport that desperately needed a hero. Beijing 2008 didn't just make him famous. It transformed him into something larger than sport, a symbol of effortless greatness, a living highlight reel, a new standard of human speed. And as breathtaking as Beijing was, Bolt was only getting started. After his historic performance in Beijing, Usain Bolt faced a new challenge, living up to his own legend. Suddenly, the world expected him not just to win, but to dominate every race, every meet, every championship. The pressure was immense, yet Bolt seemed almost untouched by it. Where others felt weighed down by expectation, he thrived. In 2009, at the World Championships in Berlin, Bolt made history again. The world watched as he faced one of his toughest competitors yet, Tyson Gay, the fastest man in the United States at the time. The 100-meter final was electric. From the first step, Bolt's long, powerful stride pulled him ahead. By the finish line, He had shattered his own world record with 9.58 seconds, the fastest 100 meters ever run in history. But the 100 meters was just the beginning. In the 200 meters, he ran 19.19 seconds, again breaking his own world record. And with the Jamaican 4x100 meter relay team, he helped smash yet another world record. In a single championship, Bolt had rewritten the record books 3 times. His dominance wasn't just about speed. It was about consistency, timing, and charisma. Where other sprinters burned out, Bolt seemed to grow stronger under the spotlight. Every major competition became a showcase, a statement. Usain Bolt was untouchable. Yet, even in this golden period, challenges arose. The 2010 one false start and you're out rule put him under new pressure. Competitors hoped to exploit his sometimes slow reaction time at the start, but Bolt adapted, proving that his mental toughness matched his physical gifts. He remained focused on a single goal, not just winning races, but leaving a permanent mark on the sport. By now, Bolt was more than an athlete. He was a global icon. Brands, media, and fans gravitated toward him, yet he stayed grounded. He laughed, he posed, he interacted with fans, but behind the scenes, the same discipline and work ethic persisted. His legacy was becoming clear. Bolt wasn't simply chasing medals, he was chasing history. Every race, every championship, every world record was a brushstroke in the portrait of one of the greatest athletes the world had ever seen. And as the 2012 London Olympics approached, the question was no longer whether Bolt could win, it was how spectacularly he would do it. By the time the 2012 Olympics arrived in London, Usain Bolt was no longer just a rising star. He was the reigning king of sprinting. The world had seen his astonishing feats in Beijing, his world records in Berlin, and his ability to dominate championships. But the challenge in London was different, defending his titles. The pressure to repeat the Beijing triple gold was immense. Bolt approached the games with confidence, but also focus. He understood that every rival had studied him, every athlete aimed to dethrone him, and the competition had grown stronger. Names like Justin Gatlin and Johan Blake now posed real threats. The 100 meters final was electric. Gatlin and Blake exploded from the blocks, challenging Bolt every step of the way. But Bolt's stride, long and powerful, proved unstoppable. He crossed the finish line in 9.63 seconds, defending his Olympic crown in the most emphatic fashion. The world erupted. Bolt had silenced doubters, proving that his Beijing triumph was no fluke. Next came the 200 meters, where Bolt again faced intense competition. Once more, he unleashed his signature combination of speed, timing, and composure. He powered through the curve, extended his stride, and crossed the finish line first. Another gold medal for Jamaica. History was being written with every step. Finally, the 4x100 meter relay awaited, the ultimate test of teamwork and coordination. Bolt anchored the Jamaican team with characteristic confidence and flair. The handoffs were clean, the pace relentless, and by the final stretch, Bolt crossed the line to secure his 3rd gold medal in London. He had done it again, winning the triple-triple, 3 gold medals in consecutive Olympics. London 2012 cemented Bolt's status as more than an athlete. He had become a living legend of sport, a symbol of excellence and charisma combined. Fans cheered, cameras flashed, and young athletes worldwide emulated his lightning bolt pose. But even at the peak of his career, Bolt's story was far from over. Challenges still awaited, injuries, emerging rivals, and the looming question of when the fastest man alive would retire. Yet through it all, one thing was undeniable. Usain Bolt had transformed track and field, inspiring a generation and etching his name forever in the history of sport. Usain Bolt's final Olympics in Rio 2016 marked the end of an era, but also the pinnacle of a career defined by speed, dominance, and showmanship. In his 4th and final games, Bolt faced fierce competition from rivals like Justin Gatlin and Andre de Grasse, yet he once again proved unstoppable. He won the 100 meters in 9.81 seconds, followed by gold in the 200 meters, and anchored the Jamaican 4x100 meter relay team to secure his historic triple-triple, 3 consecutive Olympic golds in all 3 sprint events. While later adjustments to the relay medal due to a teammate's doping violation slightly altered the record books, Bolt's achievements remained untouchable. Beyond the medals and world records, his legacy is defined by the global impact he had on athletics and sport as a whole. He brought track and field into the international spotlight, inspired generations of sprinters, and became a symbol of excellence, joy, and charisma. Bolt showed the world that greatness requires not just talent, but dedication, resilience, and a love for the craft. He left a mark not only in statistics and podiums, but in the imagination of fans worldwide, proving that sport can thrill, inspire, and unite like nothing else.